My name is Bijan Amini-Alavijeh and this is my studio in Wakefield and I am part of the YSI Sculpture Network 2022. Plaster and concrete were the main two things that I worked with. I used concrete a lot because of its heaviness and I always loved like brutalism. So this way I use research really is to use something to inform my practice. So there's kind of an answer I'm working with. And it's what I like about geometry in a way, you know, thinking about mathematics and how maths is such a definite thing. But then with that, I like to work the failures, you know, like what if I do things slightly unconventional. So this piece here, I wasn't thinking too much about structure, but I was thinking more about the material, like how can I make something with fragile components. So I don't know why I didn't think of this when I was making actually, but it didn't freestand at all. And for some reason I was gobsmacked. I was like, why mesh not freestanding? And it's got so much weight on top of it, you know. But then that gave me something to play around with, and the idea of problem solving as well, where then these came into play. So it can, you know, take on slightly more, maybe fragile forms. And something quite bodily about it as well, which I like. Drawing's always been a big part of my practice. So I'll do drawings and monoprints, and they're intertwined with the sculpture. Like the way I've done my show is kind of response to how I am in the studio. You know, like having arrangements of work, so this, you know, thinking about how to utilise form in areas. You know, I'll always play around with the space and different arrangements of the works that I do make. This show has taken forms derived from architectural medieval forms and kind of touches on Persian elements. Not so much in the forms, but in the way it's displayed. I'm relating the floor painting to a suffrage. So naturally it would be on the floor and you'd serve food off that. The forms themselves are elements that are either quite literal in terms of, you know, they're taken directly from forms I've seen off the building, such as the trefoils or the arches, I guess. It's just a way of trying to figure out and trying to discover something a bit more than what we already see, and seeing how that, you know, once I break something down into its most singular form, how can I rebuild that into something different? Like the trefoil shape, for example, was originally on the building, stacked up, and I only realised it was that form until there was one missing. It was then trying to rearrange into different arrangements and different motifs, where it then brings in different forms through the negative space as well. So this display of work, they all link to each other some way or another, mainly through looking at sacred geometry and that repetition of, say, a circle, and how that then brings together different forms, and you can make arches from that or more geometric, harsher geometries from that. I feel like I'm always using the word honest when I'm talking about this work, because it was just the most honest way, nothing too extravagant, you know, of showing my work, really. I think it's kind of interesting having shows. Part of me was thinking, what's the point in them? Why it seems odd just to put your work in space and leave it, you know, it's just obviously when you're in the studio with it, you kind of have more relation. Well, for me anyway, you know, but when it's in space, you kind of can't talk to it, you know. It's it's there, and you're like, shh, you're in a show.